Good morning, David in Australia. You're ready for your show.
Good morning from Australia. Good morning, everyone. I haven't shaved. It seems to be growing like a bit of a forest going on here. Some people like it, some people don't. I notice a lot of men are going in for professional I don't know what you call it, but it looks fantastic. There's people who are real artists with sculpting the male beard, the male facial hair. And good morning, Kim, or good afternoon, Kim. Welcome to the show. And it feels like we're in a collective storm at the moment, and it's very interesting because, of course, if you take you take a side in suffering, then you don't understand suffering, you don't understand love. However, of course, there are very extreme viewpoints out there that I hear of people who want to destroy, who want to kill, who very destructive, and that's not really where the earth, where this world is moving. We're moving to a more spiritually advanced place where people are not seeking to kill other people in the name of religion. That's when you know something's gone very wrong, when people want to kill other people for any reason, but especially in the name of some kind of religion or cult or whatever. But it just seems like there's a war. The doves are hiding away, and the war is sort of engulfing the region with Taiwan and China, North Korea, Iran, Russia, Ukraine, lots of these parts of the world that are working together. Some of them working for destruction, and that energy is around. I don't know if you can feel it as well, and it's actually quite insidious. And I feel like with our personal relationships, that some of the toxicity is also coming out. At least I felt that way. And if we cannot resolve our personal differences, within a family or close friends, then it's no surprise what's happening at a collective level. So those two are sort of intertwined and interconnected and influencing each other. So if we start with our neighbor, or start with yourself, really start with yourself, your inner conflicts, your thoughts that you're having about yourself and about others, start there, and move on to your neighbor, move on to your friends, your family, your co-workers, whatever relationships you have. All of these are affected, and you can affect them through kindness and equanimity, and a positive kind of supportive stance on your fellow humans. If we continue to war, it isn't a positive way forward. And sometimes people do gossip, and that can be quite corrosive too. Just understand there's so many viewpoints, and gossip will tend to take not a very nuanced perspective, and can be quite destructive. But really support each other. And Kim says, sadly, war has always been part of this planet's history. And definitely that is very true. As it may be hard to admit that, or hard to look that or confront that directly, because sometimes we've had wars where we've said this is the end of war, no more war. We're not going to do this anymore. Morning, Crystal. And Crystal, I think you're in California, I think. So welcome, Crystal. We're talking about the collective consciousness that's going on, and how, as individuals, we're affecting the collective, and how the importance of inner peace continues, and to start with inner dialogue of peace and loving compassion, and then move that energy outward, and always look at both sides of a situation. Sometimes it's not two sides, it's many sides, all sides of the situation. And honor each viewpoint. Just understand when there's some very destructive viewpoints out in the world, and that is not going to move things forward. And sadly, it's it's a cultural thing where people, some cultures take on very demonic type of worldviews. But we all have to cultivate compassion within our hearts for each other, for ourselves, and that will create the collective energy. But right now, it is a confronting time. It seems like the energy for a lot of people is shifting in a difficult way, where they're having to confront perhaps suppressed energies, things that they haven't wanted to face up to, that they've areas where they've lost their power, and it's coming back to remind them who they are and what they're here to do, what they're here to express. But ultimately, we all have challenges. We all come here to learn. So this is the learning school. This is where we, in a way, we're these perfect beings which arrive with all these things to experience and learn. So you can look at it both ways, that we're already enlightened, or you can look at it that we're here to, as school children, here to learn from life's experiences. So it's really a bit of both. It's the soul does evolve to some extent. There is a sense of there is some trajectory which implies a timeline. So that's a confusing topic, because beyond this earth or this universe, we think of the world to come, we think of the heavenly realm. There seems to be some kind of time sequence. Perhaps it's not a time as we understand it, but it seems to be some sort of sequence of events where a soul goes there, goes here, comes here, learns this, learns that, and then reaches another level. So once you have levels, you have an implication that there's some sort of sequence, there's some sort of, like we understand time to be, but there is also beyond space and time, there is that realm which is all-knowing. So it's an interesting idea of our soul. We think of our soul as here to learn and grow. However, if there's no beyond time and space, our soul is already all-knowing, perhaps, or perhaps not. And there are different traditions of viewing this dichotomy, this interesting conundrum, however you pronounce that word. And it's fascinating because our soul is here to express ourselves, but in the Kabbalistic tradition, we don't have one soul, or we do have one soul, but it's splintered or split into different components. So what you see here could be a very small part of my particular soul, which is kind of what I'm sensing at the moment. So this is just a small bit of my soul that you are connecting with or interacting with on your screen right now. So it's almost like there's a collective, and the idea of separation is less in the world to come, in the heavenly realms. It's less of an issue. There isn't separation. There isn't all this earthly stuff that we feel, where that's his, that's mine, this is mine, that's hers, this is mine. There's all this separation here. In the heavenly realm, the higher consciousness pervades that space. So there's a connection of loving and compassionate consciousness, as well as the ability to learn, travel, move at the speed of thought. So instantaneous movement seems to be throughout space and time as we view it. So it's almost like this is we're in the Netflix show. We're in the Netflix, and somebody can just turn the channel. In that analogy, we have the controller. We can change the channel, change the frequency. We're going to go to this TV show, this movie, this time in the show. We can fast forward, rewind, and it's the same way as I see this heavenly realm where we have that control. We're beyond that reality, but we also are able to view it, engage with it in terms of perceiving it, in terms of just looking at it, but not engage in it in terms of we cannot control the outcomes. We cannot take away people's free choice, free will. And that's not what spiritual entities are interested in, because this show is for human beings. Talking about shows, it's a human show, and we're here to show up. We're here to show up, and we're here to laugh at ourselves and have fun and not be so serious, because there's no such thing as perfection in this world. It's a little bit of imperfection, and if you're not having fun with it at all and playing with it, then it's going to be way too serious, and you miss the point as well. And just a comment on the bottom. So I'm just I'm already feeling a bit behind with studying. I've been on hiatus. I've been on a break for a while, so things are starting to really heat up and get really busy on that front the next couple of weeks. So I won't be able to make next week. I've got a presentation. What's going on in your world? Do you have any questions or comments that you'd like me to talk about? Any particular thing arising? And we can talk any topic. Just send me in the comments section if you would like me to talk about something. And essentially, this is a time of confronting the energies that are already there, bringing them out. So they may come out in an uncomfortable way, and it is likely to be uncomfortable, because something perhaps that you've been hiding away your whole life is going to rise to the surface, and you won't be able to avoid it. Perhaps shadow side, something you've been suppressing, or something that was always there and you just didn't want to look at it, or you spent your life avoiding it. So I feel like these energies are being pushed forward, and people are having this sense of transformation and catharsis in their own life, where it's just, I can no longer avoid this. And Jamie, welcome. Great to see you, Jamie. So we'll be doing questions, any readings, people who want insights. Every time we look for insight, it's infinite. There's always more to learn. So don't feel like even if you thought you knew everything, there's always more to learn, for me, for all of us, and different ways of validation, different ways we can validate what is true and real for us. Remembering that what's true and real for me may be not relevant for you. So we don't all have the same truth. We don't all have. We live in different bodies and different vessels, different parts of the world. A lot of us. So we're having a slightly different experience. But the concept is very much the same of residing in a human body, having a soul connection, having a soul, at least part of our soul that is residing within our being. And that soul has come for its own particular purposes. And sometimes our human will gets in the way of that, fights that, opposes that, or simply doesn't want to listen, doesn't want to, it says, well, that's not what I want. So just remember, the soul is an entity that it really animates your being, and behind your sense of self is something much deeper, perhaps in the ethereal dimension more and more. But that's part of you wants to be expressed in the world, and that is sometimes has hidden messages for you, but also has a certain goal. So the ego, people talk about the ego, and there's many theories. Freud talks about the ego and the superego. And these are thought constructs. They are labels that we put on it. It's kind of like we say the brain, and then the brain is so there's so many levels to the brain, and it's a label. We have convenient labels. The ego is not really a thing. It's not something tangible. At least the brain is tangible. With the ego is not tangible. But I think it's a good way to think about what I'm talking about. It's like the personality, really, the personality of a person. That part of them that says, no, I want to have a house with a picket fence with 3 kids. This is what I want. But then that's not on the cards for that particular person, because of their soul choice that's given them a certain life projection, or life given them a certain life experience that's chosen by the soul. So, and often it's complicated because you can look at it at different angles and realize, oh, if that person did all of these things, then that's not likely going to lead to the house with picket fence and 3 kids, because of what they experienced in their life. And Kim says, we only utilize a very minuscule part of our brain, so I wonder why humans do not have a fully functional brains. Well, there's different theories about that, Kim. We use, some people use more of their brains than others, but also it's there has been a bit of a shutdown, and to some extent as well, we may get a bit overwhelmed if our brains were firing up everywhere. So it's not necessarily something we need, but it shows the potential and the possibility for different parts of the brain to be switched on. And I just think because of so much of what we do as human beings, in so many different realms, the brain has a capacity to animate or build the neurons in so many different directions. But I'm just thinking of my own self, and let me just think of what the brain does. And morning, Danique, sorry my throat. Maybe I need some tea. Excuse me. And as Danny says, we're all in this together. We're all experiencing this wisdom together, this universe together. But our brain has so much capacity, and if you just think of the things that you do every day, from brushing your teeth to showering to probably working to using your phone to driving a car, perhaps to run. Some people are dancing, and some people are singing, and some people are. So that's all different parts of the brain, different levels of the brain. There's so many, and different scientists have proposed different kinds of intelligence. Intelligence of just balance, staying in balance, and intelligence of linguistic intelligence, for instance, of how you use words and how you put together words, and then mathematical intelligence, spatial intelligence, how you judge distance. Say, if you're operating heavy machinery, cutting down trees, how do you judge where that tree is going to land? Spatially, I've noticed some people cannot park their cars. That's quite common because spatially they don't have that map in their brains so well figured out. So there's so many nuances and aspects of expression in the brain, in different types of intelligence. Compassion is a type of intelligence. So caring, compassion, love. There's intimate types of intelligence. There is how we relate to people, relational kinds of intelligence. Some people are fantastic relationally. They really understand people, understand how to talk to people. Then some people are the most extraordinary athletes and gymnasts, and you watch they leap into space, climb trees. I have a friend who he can balance off his one arm horizontally off his one arm hanging off a tree, and he was in the he was in the circus. So that's an intelligence. That's an extraordinary intelligence within the body and mind. And so what we think of the brain is really so much potential. But if we're doing it all at once, it would be quite hard. It would be like doing gymnastics, playing tennis, solving mathematical equations, counseling someone, giving birth to a child. So that's how I see the brain. I see this idea of, we're going to be using all our brain. It's like, well, where's the time and how are you going to fit that all in? But definitely there is a lot of capacity for us to use the brain, but it may be quite exhausting if we were sort of switching it on at full capacity. We may just burn out. I just think the brain's going to explode if we do a million things at once and use all our capacities for intelligence. And I left, for instance, learning new languages. That's a wonderful way of developing the brain, learning new languages, talking in different languages and the like. And I'm just reading the comments. Yeah, you can definitely donate to me. That's appreciated. If you do want personal readings, healings, just send me a message. And also we can use the heal.me link as well. And that's in the link below. But let me know if there is anything else you do want to discuss. I have a question. I'm pregnant. Does my ex-baby daddy love me still? His name starts with AJ. So we cannot answer questions for other people. I think you came on before, Marky. Just because it poses a bit of an ethical question, but I did know a psychic. She was very good, and she would do that a lot. Go into other people. She would do readings on other people, and it is a bit of an ethical issue. That I can just see if there's anything for you, Marky. But I do think you came on before, and if you were the same person. So, are you familiar with the many layers of our soul body? So, Kim, the problem with that type of thinking is it's all about division and separation, and it's sort of labeling this and labeling that, and it's quite... Yeah, I think you did come on, Marky, and I already answered that question. But thank you for coming. But I mean, the answer I get for you is separation, is walking away. So that's the answer I have for you. It's moving on. That's letting go and moving on. So life is, we're talking about the complexity of life and the layers of life, and I'll come back to you, Kim, about the layers of our soul body. And sometimes it's just better to let, if someone leaves, just let them go and not fight that. I understand that that's part of your soul path, it's part of their soul agreement, and let those agreements play out instead of resisting, fighting. I mean, sometimes I notice I've had so many friends in my life, and it's come and go, and people come in my life and disappear. And then sometimes I think, a few years ago I was talking to that person every day and we had this connection, and then now I don't know where they are. And sometimes I find someone and I go, how are you, or something, and I haven't seen them for 5 years or something, and then sometimes they reply back, and then we just kind of forget about each other because that connection wasn't meant to be something for your whole life. There's very few connections that most people retain throughout their life, if you think about it. For me, that's the case, and that's why they say family is the only thing that you really keep with you. Most of the people you're connected with now, you weren't born with them, they came along later. And friends that, I've had friends that were very, very close with, that I'm not in touch with, and it's not nothing wrong about them, nothing wrong about me. It's just the life path, the life journey, your paths separated. You one person went one way, another person went another way, and there's nothing wrong at all. And the connection, some people are able to keep a connection even from a distance. And so, Marky, sometimes it's best just to walk away and to step bravely into the unknown. I know we all have an unknown future, and that is hard. But if we accept it and go, well, my future's unknown, and I'm going to be positive, and I'm going to shoot for the stars, and just enjoy myself along the journey. And we all have this journey, and there's nobody who's here forever. I have someone who passed away a couple of weeks ago, and I felt her energy very strongly close to me, especially when people pass over. I feel their energy is close to me, and I feel there's a stronger connection. The layers, ethereal layers are less dense, or less, one can see through the veil in a way. And so, to come back to you, Marky, sometimes if things are finished, that's okay. That's okay. The door closed. Other doors will open up, and let go of these old beliefs that you have, and holding on to this kind of emotional pattern it's not really serving you anymore. It's allow yourself to think more freely. Heal your thoughts. How you relate to yourself is really important, and that will affect how you relate to others. Allowing, acknowledging the inner world and the outer world, and how they interrelate and affect each other. And knowing that you have the readiness, you are ready, you have the resources to walk away from the old and embrace the new. Just embrace it, Marky, and don't keep coming back to the same old questions. And so thank you, Marky, for coming on again. And let's have a look at what Kim was saying. The many layers of the soul body. Yeah, so this is partly true, but also partly based on separation consciousness, because everything is not really, because nothing is really that separate. So it's skillful to understand that there are different layers, but those layers are connected, just so like your brain is connected to the rest of your body. But you can study the brain, you can look at the brain and acknowledge it. But people tend to sort of think in terms of separation, and that's misleading, because even the chakra system, the chakras are connected. So if one chakra is not operating, it's not vibrating to its optimal range, it is affecting all the other chakras. But there are, one can separate things out. One can separate the aura. I think I talk sometimes about the chakras, and there's a very good book about the chakras I recommend by Caroline Mace, And Caroline Myss she's a very intelligent woman, and she has studied the mysticism and put together the chakras as they connect to life, to your living expression of this sort of spiritual aura. And that's very interesting. Anatomy of the Spirit. That's the book I would recommend if you are interested in the chakra system. But there are different layers of different kinds of energies around the body. But just as I said, when we separate them, we misunderstand that they're all interconnected and interrelated. And even when you say physical, emotional, mental, all these things, soul, spiritual, these are not really to understand how things work, and it's this sort of interconnected mesh. And when people say mental, it's not always very clear what mental is, how that relates, because we operate at the same time in these different realms with these different expressions. And physical, what does that mean, physical? Because our physicality is related to our energy, it's related to our emotions, our mental, our spirit, our spiritual. It's all interconnected. Some people talk about the soul level of consciousness, the divine level of consciousness. There's many different systems that I've noticed that people and everyone sort of comes along and makes a new system. There is a sort of astral plane and etheric plane, so they just where the density of energy becomes more refined, less dense, and it's more spiritual planes. So definitely there are those realms, and it is accurate to talk about it. The problem is when people separate and divide and get overly caught up in division, because of course I talk a lot about the collective and the personal level, the collective level. You could think of the universal level as well. So I talk about that as being something happening in the world, which is really the macro and the micro, or the micro and the macro. But definitely when we talk about mind, also it's hard to understand what mind is. People don't really understand it very well. They throw it out, but when you research the concept mind, there's so many different definitions and so many different understandings. Some people think of the mind as the brain, but that's not, nowadays it's just not accurate to think of our intelligence as residing in the brain, just because we know we have heart intelligence. So Heart Math Institute has scientifically proven our intelligence of our heart. And the gut intelligence, that's really been a big part of the Chinese medicine, for instance. The huge amount of neurons in the gut, the gut microbiome, and there's a lot of science behind the gut microbiome now that show this kind of intelligence within our body. But every part of our body is intelligence, is an expression of intelligence. So when we say mind, it becomes perplexing what that means. Emotions as well, because emotions are part of our body. They're not separated from our body. So that's where you can separate them out, and maybe useful to separate them out. They're kind of indivisible, and it gets a bit confusing when you create all these separations, like mental body, emotional body, astral body, etheric. It gets very complicated, and it's kind of, yeah, I think people get a bit lost in the separation. And I'm just acknowledging Debbie. Thank you. Sorry for your loss. Life is fragile. Yeah, it certainly is. It certainly is, and we tend to hold people where they're at, and people sometimes just need to leave. We all need to leave at some point. And Kim has asked me, do you believe that when we dream, it's actually really happening on a spiritual plane? Personally, I believe sometimes what is happening is real at the time. That's a wonderful question, Kim. And, I think it's up to, I feel like, we all have our own intelligence and our own insight. And I'm not here to give you all the answers. I don't have all the answers. Definitely not. When we dream, is it actually happening? There is a sense of within our dreaming realm. There is a sense that things are happening at least from an imagination perspective. So in our imagination, it's happening. It doesn't mean it's happening. Like I can imagine a green frog or a pink elephant, say. I can imagine a pink elephant. It doesn't mean that the pink elephant is in my room. That pink elephant is is somewhere in the realm of my consciousness. And that's our dreams. Most of what I believe dreams, that's happening. It's your imagination. Some of it may be based, well, it's definitely based on your experience, and it is based on things you're going through, the subconscious realm. But it's just like I'm imagining a pink elephant now. It's not actually in front of me. But the more you think of the imagination, it does have a connection to manifestation. And the more we dream, the more there is an element of reality. And I do believe there's precognitive dreams. So I find with the dream state, it's a very, very, very fascinating. And there's so many different types of studies about dreams. But there is a precognitive aspect of dreams. And some people have are very psychic dreams where they see the future. So I believe it's also a realm where the spirit guides, angels can come in that time when you're having dream. It's images, ideas, emotions, sensations. It's all happening in the dream. So there is guidance that can come in to guide us, to give us to guide us forward. But definitely it's not when we think when we think a thought, it does have a consciousness, it does have an energy, it does have a power. So even if something's not happening, there is some sort of energetic effect of that. But sometimes it can be just our shadow side, our destructive side being expressed in the world. Lots of suppressed energies are in the subconscious. And it doesn't mean to say we're a bad person. Some people have it is the realm of the imagination. So never take it as something that is real, but it can be definitely can be messages from spirit guides. It can predict the future. There are people who have prophetic dreams, so that they have prophecy. It depends on the level of the dream, because a lot of the time we're so deeply in REM that we're not able to consciously wake in the dream. But some people are able to go into very deep realms and wake in the dream, or realize that they're in a dream. But do I believe it's happening on a spiritual plane? That's a great question. And I've just got a little green bug that flew by, which is very pretty. So green bugs flying by, and that's I guess living in the tropics is more of that happening. Do I believe it's happening? Is it real at the time? That's such a good question, Kim. Is it happening? Is it real? So what is real when you say real? What does it mean? Is it happening in the physical realm? Generally not. It's not something happening in the physical realm, but there is a sense of something you think of being a conscious pattern, and there is a reality in any conscious pattern. So a thought has some validity. It has some power. It's not completely that you can say a thought is not real. A thought has a certain reality. So it depends when you say, we use words. I know we throw out a lot of words, but it depends how we define what that means to you about being real. Debbie says, I like to write down my dreams to figure them out later, what the message is supposed to be. And that's a wonderful habit to write down your dreams and allow. The quicker you can do it, the moment you have a pen and paper, pen and journal next to your bed, so the moment you wake up, you can engage or write down what the dream was. And the more we practice this, the more connected we get to our dreams. We can also set intentions before we sleep. For instance, I will remember my dreams. I will remember my dreams. For instance, that's very powerful. And Debbie, I like to use lavender spray on my pillows to fall asleep quickly. Lavender spray is wonderful. Debbie to Debbie. So yeah, lavender spray is powerful. Is the bug a Japanese beetle? I don't know what a Japanese beetle is. So unfortunately, I cannot answer you, Kim. It's a small. Maybe I can try and take a picture of it. It's quite small, but I do see it. I have spotted it. I just have to go from.
So it looks like David went to chase the bug. So he knocked himself muted and turned off his camera as well. I'm sure he'll be back in a minute. So I was writing to him. It's a big iridescent bug. And there you are, David.
A big iridescent bug. No, this is small. It's very small, and it's green, small and green, and I've got a little tree here, and it's living on the leaves, so it probably eats leaves. And Debbie says, I had a dream the other day to be careful driving as bicyclists like to cut in front of cars, and sure enough, it happened to me a few days later. So how extraordinary, and thanks for sharing that, Debbie. It's something, something so interesting, the precognitive ability in dreams. And we do have a precognitive ability as human beings in our consciousness. And often there's a strange thing that happens in an accident, for instance, where time slows down and things happen really slowly. But talking about cyclists, I didn't see a cyclist, and I nearly got into trouble there. I didn't see the cyclist a couple of days ago. So just look out for cyclists because, I think often with the trees and if they're not where the sun is, you can actually just not see them. I didn't see the cyclist until kind of I was like, oh, where was that? I was coming out into driving into a road, but fortunately I did see the cyclist. But sometimes I just find I'm not seeing cyclists, and just it's really important to stay safe out there. And where I live, a lot of people don't wear helmets, and it's really just, if you're going out on a bike, wear a helmet. What makes things safe for things like bikes is actually light. So if a person has a light, then people are much more likely to see them. So that's also can be something protective. Same with cars even. There's much fewer accidents when people have their lights on. Just because of the light, the general lighting with the sun, and depending on what color people are wearing, it can often just sort of go into the background, if you know what I mean. And so interesting to talk about the bags. In San Francisco, we have car lanes, people lanes, Uber drivers, and cyclists. We call them cyclists over here. So it's a lot going on. And it's quite chaotic, really. I know in certain Asian countries and in Africa that a lot of people don't follow any rules, and that ends up in a very chaotic and dangerous place. So I think I used to think, oh, what are all these rules for? I don't like rules. But then when I observe these different countries and how they work, and it doesn't work when you have chaos. Chaos is not something that works very well in terms of people's safety. So that's a different topic. And if anyone wants a reading, we do have a couple of minutes left. We've talked about a lot of topics today. So you can reach out to me in those social media pages. Debbie, and I drive with lights on also. That's a great idea. Fantastic. I drive with lights on. And Debbie said, Debbie as well. Debbie and Debbie. I always drive with lights on. Yeah, Debbie, it really does make a big difference. It really helps. And as I said, I noticed with the cyclist that I didn't see the cyclist. It was probably about 4 p.m. The sun was very bright, and the cyclist, it was just blending into the road, sort of same color as the road, no bright colors or anything. So I just didn't see them until I did see them, essentially. So bright colors, something like a light, having a light would have made a big difference. And Debbie said, finally it got so dangerous. The city earmarked many streets for no access to cars. That's good. I think one needs some rules. One needs some understanding that if we don't follow rules, you see the chaos. So it's just being aware of also the speed, the dangers of speed. Just statistically speaking, the faster you drive, the slower it's going to take you more time to slow down. So it's just more likely to cause harm. But I'm more for, the older I get, I think I realize I'm more for the rules and discipline in shared environments and shared spaces. Just like if I go to a toilet, if it's a mess, it's not very nice. Just leaving things as you would like to receive them. That's the way. So the same with the traffic. Nothing happened with the cyclist, Kim. And yeah, reflective clothing, that helps. Just acknowledging that we share the world and being respectful for each other is really important. And Debbie says they're now installing automatic cameras if you go over 10 miles an hour. Well, 10 miles an hour doesn't sound... How do you even... That's a problem as well, because cars aren't designed to go at 10 miles an hour. So we're asking people to... Most cars, it's very hard to go... it's very hard to go slowly in most cars. In my experience, it was almost like I'd see the speed limit. How am I actually going to go that speed? My car's just not designed to go that speed. So, when we manufacture cars, what is the intention of manufacturing a car that can go 200 miles an hour? So to answer that question, like, what's going on? If you don't want people to go 200 miles an hour, then don't make cars that can go at 200 miles an hour. So certain things require a little bit of application of common sense, which is more and more uncommon in the world. It's the same as guns. If you want to decide that people should be allowed to have guns, then don't give the guns to kids and don't give them to criminals and people with mental health issues. That shouldn't be controversial, but also manufacturing automatic weapons or whatever. What is the possible purpose of that, and why would you allow any person to have those kind of weapons? So it doesn't make any sense. For me, I don't believe in guns. I don't believe in that at all. And Kim, I thought they disabled all of the cameras due to all of the legal issues. Yeah, because a lot of the cameras don't work so well. That's a good point. And the legalities are definitely questionable with cameras. So that's an interesting point. Is the driver's side of the cars where you live on the right or the left side? It's on the right side. That was in certain cities, places. They did it in San Diego. They got rid of them after suing. I am biased, but I leave only police need guns. Well, we all have a bias, and that's okay. I agree with you, Debbie. Do I have a bias? Yeah, I guess I have a bias, but I agree with you. And Kim says, I wish they could do away with all weapons. Well said, Kim. Well said. That's definitely somewhere, some place that I believe all of us, I would hope that all of us would have those kind of sentiments. But maybe that is, that is a bias. But I don't like the idea of people hunting animals personally, but I do know that people do need to eat. So, it's tricky. So certain people use guns to kill animals, and I always feel it's unfair. I always think, I think it was when we had before we had guns, I thought it was more of a level playing field. The animals could escape. I feel it's not a level playing field having guns, particularly the way people use them destructively, and people. That is a different topic, perhaps. So thank you so much for everyone for being here, and it was a wonderful conversation. Thank you for all your comments. And as Debbie says about hunting for sport, I find that very sad myself. I just find it very, very sad. But that's just me. And thank you, everyone, and lots of love to you all. Go in peace. We won't see you next week, but the following week. Kim says, I wonder how the poor cows feel to be milked. Well, they don't treat cows very well, Kim, and they separate them from their babies, which is very cruel. And cows are not designed. They also manufacture hormones. They give them hormones, and cows are not designed to be like that. And it is very sad how we treat animals, because I think there's a certain utility in animals that we can use their strength, use their abilities, but respectfully, and the way they kill animals and take babies away from their mothers and then kill the babies, things like that. It's very, very cruel. But I understand there is a certain cruelty in this world, and not everyone can cope with a vegan or vegetarian lifestyle or diet. Most people definitely can manage very well, at least mostly vegetarian, but that is a different topic, and it's a controversial topic because people have a lot of philosophy and spiritual ideas connected to food and nutrition, and it's can be quite an interesting topic. But thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful week. Go in peace. And thank you, Debbie. I will miss you too. And Stu, thank you for the hearts. And thank you so much, Kim, for all your interesting questions. You always have the most interesting questions. So thank you. So see you.